Welcome to the Bible Gossip Podcast. I am your host, Katie Fellman. I am going to go book by book and chapter by chapter, verse by verse into the Bible. If you've never read the Bible before, now is a great time to join me. We're starting at Genesis. This is chapter 3, so let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so we are diving into chapter 3 of Genesis. Chapter 3 is called the fall. So God has created everything in the last two chapters, created the world, created man, and now everything is falling apart pretty quickly, actually, just mere chapters in. So let's go ahead and we're going to read chapter 3, the fall. Now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field that the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God actually say you shall not eat of any of the tree in the garden?" And the woman said to the serpent, "We may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden, but God said you shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden. Neither shall you touch it, lest you die." So already here, the serpent is being tricky. She's giving that, or maybe he is giving that like middle school bad friend vibe when your mom said you can't go out or you can't, or you're grounded or whatever. And your friend's like, "Oh, your mom won't let you do that. Maybe you should just sneak out. Oh, your mom won't let you wear that. Well, my mom lets me wear that." And it just plants that seed of doubt into Eve. I know when I was a child and someone challenged what my mom, like the rules that my mom had created, I would definitely doubt you, like, yeah, why does my mom do that? Yeah, like that's not cool, Mom. Why are you trying to hold me back? So I can see exactly what the serpent is doing. And um what I've tried to explain too is like when trickery comes, it doesn't often come, and like evil comes, it doesn't come awful, and it doesn't come bad, and it doesn't come mean and scary. It's going to come in ways of bad friends. It's going to come in ways that seem more fun, but it's hard, like being disobedient. That might seem like more fun, but you might have to be a little disobedient to get to do it. And that is, it always ends up bad. Like, let's be honest. Like, go back to middle school. Did it ever work out for you? Probably not. So I know it did not for me. So the serpent for me is feeling very much like that. So let's continue on. Verse 4. But the serpent said to the woman, "You will not surely die, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you'll be like God, knowing good and evil." So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate, and she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. So again, influence, right? We listened to the serpent. The serpent had bad advice, definitely trickery afoot. And not only did Eve eat of it, she also shared it. She brought it within her marriage. And I think that is important because the things we do outside our marriage affects what you bring into your marriage. So she was poisoned outside, she brought it in, and now they're both poisoned. So, and they don't die, but we know this, but that's like the beginning of the end, right? So because they weren't obedient to God, that was the first step to like the demise. So verse 7 says, "Then the eyes of both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loincloths." So we talked about in chapter 2, they were naked and they were not ashamed. They were best, like, I imagine them being like best friends, feeling so confident in each other. Adam asked for a person to, he was asking for a helper to, be with him, and he got Eve, and it was perfect. It was a perfect union. They were in harmony. They were naked, but not ashamed because they were the same. And so now their eyes are open and they're like, "Oh, we have things to be ashamed of now." And so now they are trying to hide themselves in their loincloths. Um, yeah, so let's continue. Number 8. "And they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. But the Lord God called to the man and said to him, 'Where are you?' And he said, 'I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself.'" So now, like, the red flags are going up. God's like, You didn't know you were naked before. Like, what's going on? He said, who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree of which I commanded you not to eat? The man said, the woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me the fruit of the tree and I ate. Then the Lord God said to the woman, what is this that you have done? The woman said, the serpent deceived me and I ate. So it's a lot of blame game here. No one's fully like, I mean, she's owning up to it, but they're hiding. Does hiding from your problem ever make it better? Again, absolutely not. I just look at Adam and Eve as like these young souls right here because they just don't know any better and they're being deceived. You know, they're new to this world. They don't know, but um I've never thought of a problem that's been better solved by hiding from it, from running from it. So them hiding from God in the garden was just so disappointing because now they have shame. Now they have guilt. Now they know they're naked. Now they know they're going to be in trouble. So they're hiding. So all of these emotions where God had created these perfect people who didn't have to deal with this if they hadn't eaten. And this is what happens when we're disobedient. Like God has asked us to be obedient servants and God has given them everything. You know, they had a garden rich with food and fruit and creatures, and now we're going to find out they're going to be banished from the garden, and so because actions have consequences, and being disobedient has consequences, especially in the eyes of God. So the Lord God said to the serpent. So the serpent's the first one getting a little discipline here. Because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and above all the beasts of the field. On your belly you shall go, and dust you shall eat all the days of your life. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. So enmity means the state of being hostile. So he created that. I would say fear. I definitely have a deep fear of snakes. I don't love seeing snakes. I know not everyone is that way, but definitely not a simpatico relationship for a lot of us. I know there's snake lovers out there, but a lot of us are not huge on the snake loving agenda. And so this is that beginning of that. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at my notes too. Talking about Eve ate the poison, and how that spreads, and they're hiding the serpent's punishment. Oh, okay. So I had a question. So he says on here, because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and above all beasts of the field. On your belly you shall go. So did snakes used to have legs? Or is it possible that serpents used to have wings? Is that like dragons? Is that, I don't know. We'll find out. It was just when I was reading it. And that's a question my kids have asked too. Like, we've talked about dinosaurs and maybe dinosaurs were actually dragons. I don't know. I don't know how far you want to go down that conspiracy hole, but just a little seed for thought there. Okay, so he punished the serpent. The serpent is now crawling around. He gets to eat dust, and yeah, that's how he's spending the rest of his days. So, verse 16, to the woman he said, I will surely multiply your pain during childbearing. Yay! Yay for us! So glad that happened. In pain you shall bring forth your children. Um, yeah, that's great. Your desire shall be contrary to your husband, but he shall rule over you. So don't love that because before God was bringing on a helper, and now he's kind of given Adam the go ahead, like, you're in charge. She's not making good choices. You're in charge. Yeah, I don't love that. So verse 17, and to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, you shall not eat it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In pain you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth to you. And you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread, till you return to the ground, for out of it you are taken, for you are dust, and dust you shall return. This is so powerful because he's cursing Adam. He's saying, I told both of you not to eat the fruit. Sure, Eve went and ate it, but she brought it to you. He was right there. He should have stepped in and been like, "Oh, no, 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 no. We were given rules. We're not doing this." And that's where, kind of going back, I feel like it's man's call to lead, but he didn't. He followed Eve, and it led them astray in this situation. And I think that if he had stepped in and led her and said, "We're not doing this. This is not the choice we're making," things would be different, for them. And so this right here, I had to reread it a couple times. um you shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In pain you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth to you. So I was trying to figure out like what exactly that meant. And what I could kind of discern is that in the Garden of Eden, it was so food was so plentiful and so readily available for them. They had fruit trees, they had animals, and they're he's saying the ground is now going to be hard and you're going to have to work for your food. I'm not just readily giving it to you anymore. You're going to have to garden. And unfortunately, there's going to be thorns and thistles in there. There's going to be weeds. You're going to have to deal with it. Um, you're going to have to work. You're going to have to work it now. Before I planted you in the most perfect place ever and you screwed it up. So now the ground is cursed. You are getting kicked out and you're going to have to work your little butt off if you want to eat. Um, Verse 20, the man called his wife's name Eve because she was the mother of all living. And the Lord God made for Adam and for his wife garments of skins and clothed them. The Lord God said, behold, the man has become like one of us and knowing good and evil. Now, lest he reach out his hand and also take of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore, the Lord God sent him out from the Garden of Eden to work the ground from which it was taken. Excuse me. So here he's casting them out. They no longer are allowed to stay in the Garden of Eden because he knows like he can't trust them. They broke that trust. And the other part of this though is so he's sending them away. There's two trees. There was the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and then there's the tree of life. If they had eaten from the tree of life, they're God has cursed them now. They're cursed people, and they are going to suffer because they're going to have to work. They're going to have to figure out how to provide for themselves now, which is hard. It's hard work to be farming. um and so I think if God had let them stay, had forgiven them and had let them stay in the garden, God's knowing they're going to eat from the tree of life, that would have let them live for forever. They would have been immortal, not immoral, but they are immoral. We already know that they ate. So he's actually being pretty merciful, because if he had let them stay, they would have eaten from it. They're suffering. And they would have suffered forever. So living to be an immortal is not the goal, right? And so I think he still loved them, but he didn't want them to suffer all their days. So verse 24, he drove out the man, and at the east of the Garden of Eden he placed a cherubim and a flaming sword that turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. So he guarded that because he just knew, he's like, they've already been tricked. They might go again. And I can't stop them now that they've been deceived, and they're going to continue to keep being deceived. So, chapter 3 is definitely the downfall, for people here. This is when deception and trickery get brought in and ruin a perfect union. So, chapter 3, Genesis, bummer. Such a bummer. They get kicked out of the garden. They had a good thing going and they lost it. Come back for chapter 4. We're going to read about Cain and Abel.